Well, so Friday is here again. Hello there, good afternoon, and welcome to The Pulse. We are coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We are also live on your digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. This is Joy News. We are independent, fearless, and credible. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, the Ecoconscious Citizens are mounting pressure on the Forestry Commission to enforce Ghana's laws on wildlife conservation. The call comes in the wake of an official announcement by the Ghana Police Service that it is making frantic efforts to relocate 2 tigers being kept at a residential facility right here in Accra. We'll hear from the group shortly on the matter. Also, Eastern Regional Security Council denies claims of ritual killings in the region after footage went viral on social media showing the gruesome murder of some individuals purported to be residents of the area.
Staff of the Office of the President, Honorable Akusia Frima Osei Opare.
Well, stay with us. We hear exclusively from the regional minister here on The Pulse, and vetting underway for aspiring new Patriotic Party regional executives. This afternoon on The Pulse, we'll take you across some regions and bring you up to speed on how the exercise is unfolding. This is The Pulse. I am Blessed Sogah. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu, affordable, safe sanitation. This afternoon as well, we're streaming live on Facebook and all of our social media handles. We're also streaming on YouTube. Join us. It's at JoyNews on TV. My personal handle is at Blessed Sogah. Always a pleasure serving you here on The Pulse. Please stay. Well, so it's probably the most talked about issue the whole of the day. A group of eco-conscious citizens are wading in, asking the Forestry Commission to enforce Ghana's laws on wildlife conservation. The calls actually come in the wake of an official announcement by the Ghana Police Service that it is working together with the Forestry Commission to relocate 2 tigers being kept at a residential facility here in Accra. Obviously, what we know is that residents at Wonder World Estate near the British High Commission at Region Accra have expressed worry over the presence of the carnivores in the estates believed to be owned by business mogul Nana Kwame Bediako, popularly known as Freedom Jacob Caesar. Well, the man at the center of the controversy himself says he was just keeping the animals for recreational purposes.
I read the story, I didn't finish it. Because when you're reading something about yourself that you kind of see too many paragraphs in lies, it's difficult for you to finish it. But from what I've seen and heard, I don't think I am putting anyone in danger, because the necessary procedures to protect the animals has been done. The necessary procedures to be able to build a future for the animals is in process with the commissions. So I don't know if somebody is saying this has happened or that has happened, and these animals has not harmed anyone. They have not been out there on the streets. They've been fed and taken care of. And they're still cubs. They're yet to grow. They haven't even turned to a year. They're still in their 6th, 7th month. So that's all it is, really. We all know that these are not things that you can just go to the market and buy them and, come and put them in your house. So I definitely had to go through the procedure. The procedures are done. The protection is well mounted. And the safety of the public, it's very much considered. And so at my own time, I would like to probably even show how we went through the process of creating this protection and making sure that the animals were fed, trained, and done many things. And then we take it from there. Thank you.
Well, so that's the account of the owner. While giving the terms of the country's wildlife regulations, any person who fails to obtain a license before keeping these wild animals shall, on conviction, be liable to a fine of not exceeding 10,000 Ghana cedis, or a jail term of not exceeding 12 months as well. But you have a full detail on your screens right now, indicating what it is that's involved. So here's the LI 1452 talking about wildlife conservation, and it indicates that no person, first of all, Section 6B indicates that no person shall keep a wild animal as a pet unless he is the holder of a license issued by the Chief Game and Wildlife Officer or his representative for that purpose. Now, application for licenses to keep a wild animal as a pet shall be made in writing to the Chief Game or Wild Officer or his representative in the area of residence of the applicant, accompanied by such fees as may be determined by the Chief Game and Wildlife Officer. Then we know that the Chief Game and Wildlife Officer may, in granting a license under this section, stipulate the conditions under which the wild animals shall be kept. And then we also know that a license granted under this section for the stated reason shall be withdrawn and the pet confiscated to the state. Then there's also a part talking about fees being collected, but the last leg of the point talks about that the fact that any person who contravenes any of the provisions or regulations 6A or 6B commits an offense and shall be liable to a fine of not exceeding 10,000 Ghana cedis or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 12 months or both. So these are the clear terms that we have within the wildlife regulations. Meanwhile, the eco-conscious citizens are already wading into the matter, asking the Forestry Commission to enforce the laws. Joining us now is the co-coordinator for the eco-conscious citizens, Awula Sewa. Thank you so much for your time. So, as eco-conscious citizens, what do you make of, first of all, the justification by the owner that he was simply keeping these animals for recreational purposes?
Well, I mean, the main issue here are whether the laws were contravened or not, because it's about safety. It's about safety of residents and safety. So if he has a license and he has kept all the conditions that went with the license, that is one thing. But hearing the allegations, first of all, there's the notion of nuisance. Apparently, there's a stench, and also there is noise. In addition, there are allegations that 2 residents were attacked by the cubs. One said she had her feet scratched. The other one said he had to run for dear life. These are allegations which need to be investigated. We are quite clear that the owner does not have financial issues, so he can ensure that everything is done to keep the pets, if you want to call them that, in accordance with the conditions that go with the license. So that is what we are concerned about, the issue of nuisance and safety, because safety is paramount.
But I guess the concern is, really, is it a bad idea to keep these cats as pets, as we are learning of? Well,
I mean, it might not be something that I would do. And if you look at it, I think even in the US, there are so many areas where you cannot keep tigers as pets. But having said that, it's about the laws of the land. If indeed the laws of the land allow anybody who wants to keep tigers as pets to do so, it's a question of whether the laws have been contravened or not, because conditions were set. And I'm sure that nuisance needs to be abated. So it's a question of, is there a stench or is there not a stench? If there's a stench, then I don't think the conditions are being kept. But paramount, as I've said, it's safety. So whether it's a good idea or not a good idea, are residents in danger? That is what we need to look at.
We'll be looking at the law shortly and what your take is on the matters. But talking from the perspective of being an eco-conscious group, help us understand the issue about tigers and lions. Are they really an extinct species, or it's just the case that probably it's not safe keeping them?
Well, I'm not quite sure they're endangered species, but for me, the concern whether or not they are endangered is if this is the best place to keep them. But more importantly, what do the regulations say? Because as eco-conscious citizens, we are about a clean, green, and healthy environment. So is the environment healthy if there are wild animals that people say are causing a threat to them? It will not be a safe environment. And also, we are about noise. According to the residents, the so-called pets make a lot of noise, which is causing a nuisance. As you know, we all have the right to peace and quiet in the comfort of our homes, and nobody's activities should interfere with that right. Your home is the only place where you can have a bit of peace and quiet, and you are king in your home. You shouldn't have noise or nuisance from anybody interfering with that right of yours to peace and quiet. So that is our concern.
But at least now we're learning that, for instance, keeping these carnivores is a luxurious lifestyle. Is that not what we're simply witnessing here?
It is not a question of a luxurious lifestyle. I mean, you can have any lifestyle you like, so long as it doesn't affect somebody else. Because as you know, your freedoms end where somebody else's begins. So if the law allows you to keep snakes, scorpions, whatever, that's what the law allows you to do. But the law does not allow you to cause a nuisance to your neighbors. Therefore, whatever you do, it should be done in such a way that your neighbor is kept safe and your neighbor is not inflicted by any noise or anything that disturbs him in his own home. And also, as I keep on saying, there was supposed to be stench. If you're in your home, you want to have a pleasant environment, and an environment that has a foul smell is not what one would call a pleasant environment.
Well, the law enforcement agencies are already coming into this. We're hearing from the Ghana Police Service, for instance, which says that it is carrying out a relocation exercise together with the Forestry Commission. Is that the best option and the best way out in this case?
I mean, first of all, I have to say that according to the residents, they made a number of complaints and they didn't get anywhere with the complaints. It was only after the media, and we need to thank the media. It was only after the media highlighted the issue that something was done, and that is not right. If complaints are made, they need to be investigated and action taken. The authorities need not wait for the media to highlight it. But having said this, if the authorities are now doing what they should be doing to keep residents safe, it can only be a good thing. They are the experts, and they should know what to do. So it's up to the authorities to do what is best in this particular case. Enforcement is something that's really, really important. All rules and regulations should be enforced. And if I might digress a bit,
right.
We know that in Ghana, enforcement has never been our strongest point. We have all the beautiful laws, but unfortunately, monitoring and enforcement is not something we are very good at. We talk about building. The regulations are very clear that you cannot build on every inch of your land. Space needs to be kept for drainage, greenery, and so on and so forth. But we find out that in certain areas, people have built on almost every inch of the land, and the authorities stand idly by. They don't enforce the regulations. So that is one of the problems we have, enforcement.
Awula, what would you say to someone who walks up to you and say, well, these are just animals. Why are we making a big deal out of this situation?
Well, I'll say they're just animals. You can go and join them and see whether we're making a big deal or not. We know that these are undomesticated animals. Even in the case of domesticated animals, we read of cases where dogs, which are being kept as family pets, have actually attacked the children, in some cases killed babies and children. And these were family pets. They can be unpredictable. So if even family pets can sometimes harm their owners and their families, how much more undomesticated wild animals? So anybody who thinks we're making a big fuss, well, they're entitled to their opinion, but they can come and live there with the pets. But I think that all we need to do is ensure that the laws are being kept, and there's no unsafety to the residents, there's no stench and no noise. If there had been none of these issues, I don't think that we'd be having this conversation.
Well, I'm not sure I'm trying that anytime soon, but thank you for joining us here on The Pulse. That's Awula, our co-coordinator for the group calling itself Ecoconscious Citizens. Well, one man who's been close to the action is also joining us, Justice Boadu. He's been monitoring the event ever since the news broke. But Justice, you've been there today as well. Bring us up to speed with what transpired today.
So today, the new development which has been there since morning is basically the police presence, which largely has been triggered by the resident in the estate, who's the person who leaked this information to the media from yesterday, and it is her, her complaint that drew the police attention to
all of this.
And then it is that, attention that the police then had that also did indicate through the press statement that they released yesterday that they were working with the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission to ensure that these animals were removed today. And so we understood that the Forestry Commission were working with the police to have these animals removed today, which we expected to have happened by now. Right. We have been at the property since morning, and we haven't seen that happen. And as I speak to you, these animals are still in this property, and nothing has changed.
So the relocation hasn't happened?
Hasn't happened yet. We don't yet have any information from the Wildlife Division, even though they did indicate to us this morning that they were working towards having them removed this morning. That hasn't happened yet. What has happened that I know is that the police is heavily present there and are making sure that the people who are in there are safe, and that the animals are also within a place where they are unable to harm the people who are there.
And Justice, what's interesting about the story is also the issue about the courage. The courage on the part of the whistleblower to just walk out of this very property that's being rented to you by the same man you're reporting, and go ahead and tell the police that, well, he's keeping some tigers in his residence. How is she feeling now, and what's her status as we speak?
Yes, so this person is someone who, as I understand, has been confronting the owner of this property, basically to speak about the danger that she feels for her life and for her family living in this property. There's a gated neighborhood where, if a tiger skipped your wall, he could hurt anybody in close range. And so this whistleblower has constantly complained to the facility managers, to the property owners, and according to her, it has almost turned violent in the past in instances where she has had to express fear for her life. And so 3 days ago, this news came down to people, to journalists, and it got published some way, somehow. And that then drew a lot of attention from the property and facility owners. And so because they know that she is the person who has raised issues with it, because the interesting thing is that the tigers are just by her property.
So she's the closest. So if anything should happen, she'll be the first to be on the receiving side.
And the interesting thing also is that these tigers are far away from the property of the owner of the tigers. So the guy who owns the property, who has brought in these tigers, is not keeping them by his house. He's keeping them by the house of
someone else.
And what this lady is saying is, why would you not keep them in your property if they were safe? Why are you keeping them close to mine? And I tell you that I'm unsafe. I don't feel safe having them around my property. So this lady went up to the police yesterday, lodged a complaint with the police, and said that, hey, you guys need to come in, help me deal with this. And the police sent men with her, went to the property, tried to see what was happening. First police contingent that came with her were not allowed entry into the property, and she had to call in a lawyer. A lawyer then moved the case up higher, and they had to go to the point of going to the police headquarters, where a higher level, police engagement contingent were detailed to come, and then it was only at that point, as I understand, very late yesterday, that this lady was given access to a property that she herself has paid for.
And I think, Justice, it's at this point that we need to bring back that video, because for the very first time, we're now coming up close with these carnivores. And just describe the situation to us, for those who've not been to the vicinity. What you have here is the residence within which these cats are being kept.
So this is an estate apartment. It's an estate environment. All that whole enclave. And for people who know Accra, this is the Ring Road estate area right behind the British High Commission. And so within that area, you have, like, I could count not less than 5 different estates of the same make, walled. But once you come in, you could move from one property to
Into
the other.
the other.
You know, it's
Right.
you could even see your neighbor through your window. And so these animals are in one part, and my understanding is that they have a whole property to themselves, and this is the frontage of that property, and they are, you know, housed in
Right.
this cage. And as we understood from this video that, you know, was shared yesterday, they have this trainer who says that these animals cannot harm. They are very sociable animals.
That's the description he is giving.
In his words.
Right.
And so, you know, this is what it is. And the interesting thing also is that there are many people who live around who say that until this morning, when news broke on radio and also online,
They
didn't know
Right.
that these tigers were there. And news of these tigers have sent a lot of fears around, and many of them are really, really feeling unsafe, according to interviews that I had with them.
Justice, I'm grateful that you've been able to bring us up to speed with what's happening there. In fact, we'll keep an eye on the vicinity and also see what it is that the Ghana Police Service will be doing. Let's touch on some other security matters, but this time around in the Eastern Region. The Eastern Regional Security Council has described as false claims that content of a viral video alleged to be a ritual murder is from the region. A video circulating on social media suggests that some men were killing people for rituals at a hideout purported to be in or around the regional capital, Koforidua. But in a statement signed by the regional minister, said Kwame Champong, of course, it states that the earlier reports and the entire reports that we're seeing through that video footage is not accurate. Well, fortunately, at this point, the regional minister is joining us via Zoom now, and it's such a good time to be talking to him. Thank you so much, Honourable, for joining us. So here we are. You're denying, first of all, the claims that the footage is not from within the area. Are your investigations clearly telling you how the video even started circulating in the first place?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to yourself and those joining us via your medium. The evidence before us demonstrates clearly that those footages is nothing related to Koforidua. There is no suburb within the municipality that depicts such scenes, and we condemn whoever circulated such videos just to take away the beauty and the shine of a traditional farewell for our overlord. We do not take this kindly at all. And like you may know, the security apparatus is always working continuously to get to the bottom of every matter that comes before them. And we have encouraged them to assist us to go through the technology setup to be able to identify from which IP feed these things came from. We want to know who is such a disingenuous character that wants to tarnish the image of the New Dublin State, and not just the New Dublin State, but the entire region, which is the Eastern region.
And I'm sure that by now, a lot of fear has been going down the spine of many residents within the region. How are you dealing with that by allaying their fears and giving them assurances that the security agencies will definitely protect them?
So one of the mediums and the tools is via the press release that we sent out. That was the first port of call to bring back the joy, to bring back confidence, and to enable our people walk about and do through their daily chores without fear or panic. That is the responsibility of government, to always grant the citizenry the necessary public safety measures. And so our first deployment was to send out this signal so that the notice gets out there to each and every person. Subsequent to that, we are already on an alert via the alert issued by the minister responsible for national security. And so for us, we are already at work at the RECSEC. And these things will not make us move away from the subject matter and take our eyes off the ball. We are firmly having our eyes on the ball, and nothing will move it away. But I said on some other platform that I have used the local media, and it is through the media today that we can reach the numerous people of our region. And so we are doing our best, speaking ever since the matter broke, and explaining and assuring our people that nothing of such happened and nothing of such will happen. They were just normal traditional rights. One of the reasons why some may have panicked at the outset was that when such rites are to be performed, they are performed within a very serene, calm atmosphere. And so our traditional authorities and leaders always caution that when such rites are to be performed, they expect the community to remain silent and calm. That is not too much a demand by the traditional authorities. As you may be aware, even as some festive rites are to be performed, as you may know, even in the Ghana state, when the ban on drumming comes up, you are supposed to observe and respect the rights of our traditional authorities. And so similarly, when our traditional authorities have signaled to us that they may be performing the burial rites, and that demands that community becomes calm, it is just a sign of respect to the departed, so that all of us will honor the departed in a good farewell bid. That is not to say that something untoward will be done. So for us, whoever tried to manipulate by going through a new media mechanism, new media tools to divert attention and to rather mar the beautiful image of the Eastern region, and the pride of the Eastern region, our regional capital, the city of flowers, Costa Rica, will not be permitted. They have to stop such things. But we are not stopping here. We're going after them. And we are very confident we'll get them. And the necessary sanctions and penalties will be met out to them when they are found.
And I'm sure that you've been interacting with the Traditional Council ever since this video started going viral. How worried are they about the circulating video, and what steps are you taking to deal with what you describe as misinformation?
Right from the outset, the traditional authorities involved us in the preparation of the final .e, that's the rights in seeing our overlord off in a decent farewell. So we've been in close communication, hence the reason to issue a statement on behalf of the Regional Security Committee, because we were directly involved in the management, both vehicular and human traffic, and ensuring that public security measures are fully in place and public order was fully respected. So we are in a day-to-day meeting with the traditional authorities. And so at every inch of our step, we apprise them with what is happening. So they know that this is what some miscreants, I call them, were trying to do to misinform the population against the state. Fortunately, we were able to come and got our people who have the wherewithal, high-tech savvy men within the security apparatus, who were able to tell us that this is not even emanating from the jurisdiction of the Republic. Those images and footages are not even from Ghana. They are from elsewhere. How do we, get all these facts through? Because it's a matter in progress and investigations are still underway, we want to know who is being so mischievous to throw out such a matter into the domain just to take away the shine of the rights of an overlord.
Right, and I believe that part of the reasons accounting for all of this is largely because of some acts of police brutalities and clashes that are happening not necessarily within the region, but elsewhere. The belief by some experts is that it's giving a breeding ground for such false information, as you're describing it, to gain grounds and to misinform the people some more. What steps are you taking to reassure everyone, particularly within the region, that the region is definitely going to be peaceful as it is now?
The only assurance is by your kindness and permitting me to speak through this medium. Beyond this, our men and officers are already in position. They are going about their daily chores of ensuring peace, stability, and the unity of our people are assured. The encouragement is that visibility is up in the region. We have men on patrol. We are doing everything possible for people to have the assurance that there's public safety. However, the unfortunate incidents of some brutalities, I'm not holding breath for the security services, but I think that as a citizen, and to an extent, the citizenry of our republic, we should all respect each and every person. Mutual respect enhances coexistence. Many a times, the rhetorics of us non-security personnel, civilians, against security personnel, we have to reorient our thinking, our thought processes, and our actions towards the security personnel. They are equal citizens like us. It is only the law that mandates them to be in some apparel that grants them the mandate to order us about and to guide us and ensure that order is maintained and upheld. And so I encourage each and every person to relate appropriately with the security services. And if you do so, they are a loving crew to be with. This is what I can say. That aside, I want to say it's unfortunate that some brutalities have come up. But those brutalities, I'm sure, if it is at the wrong of the security services, the internal mechanisms of the service that takes care of such unfortunate happenings.
We know that prior to the funeral arrangements, in fact, in the wake of the ceremonies, there were heightened security measures that you took prior, within, and now after the celebrations. There are questions about what it is that the regional security will be doing going forward in terms of the security arrangements. Are you changing what used to be during the events?
Not necessarily. This was a one-off event. So we had to apply to the Inspector General of Police to support us with some officers and men, because we were going to have an unusual visitation by more prominent citizens. As you may know, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, was here. The former President John Ejiofor was here. The Chief of Staff was here. The Council of State Chairperson, who happens to be the Jabengene Dasipro Tusibro, was the chief who sat in state to hold this beautiful event. You may know that the Jabings are from Ashanti. So the overlord of Ashanti, Opimso Otunkoseju, was here with us. So looking at this area of prominent men in our society, it is prudent on the part of the security apparatus, as well as RECSEC, to put on high alert personnel to ensure that we have a serene environment for all these great men and women to walk through peacefully and have our community remain intact and safe. And so that measure was put in place to ensure that we had the event peacefully. Post the event, we're back to our normalcy. And our normal routine is to ensure that we send our men on patrol who go around. That is the usual thing we do. Standard operating procedure. We do them. That is nothing new. So how we prepare during the event and post the event measures are all different, but we are assuring each and every person that the public safety is intact. Nothing to worry about.
We're grateful. That's Seth Champong, the Eastern Regional Minister, joining us here on the Pulse. Well, we're keeping our eyes also on some more security developments. Member of Parliament for Cape Coast South, George Kwekwe-Hagan, is urging the Central Regional Police to intensify their investigations to get justice for the 24-year-old Cape Coast Technical University student who was allegedly killed. Nanama's body was found at Olai, suburb of Cape Coast, with her private parts missing. Following that, her boyfriend has been arrested and remanded in police custody to aid in investigations, with the police also hunting for a second suspect. Speaking in an interview with JoyNews, Mr. Hagan says there are they're actually relying on the information from the police. He further stated that on his part, his team and other stakeholders will ensure that the CCTV camera footage and some other activities and information that will help the police will be made available. Richard Kojinyako has more in the following report.
The body of the level 300 student of the Cape Coast Technical University was found at Ola, a suburb of Cape Coast. His private parts were missing and thus heightened the fears of residents. MP for Cape Coast South, George Kwekwe-Hagan, paid a visit to the Central Regional Police Commander to discuss matters of security in his constituency.
We have realized an increasing incident of criminalities around here, where we believe people are even coming from outside this city to come and commit crime here, either by themselves or to come and work with people who live here. So I believe that those people or that person will be fine. But that this is a really, really wicked crime, and a waste of life for a young lady, who's gone to university up to level 300. We want to encourage our women to be educated. We want to encourage our women to be prominent people in society. And one has made an effort to that level, and it's been needlessly cut. That investigation is still ongoing. There has been an arrest. There's likely to be a second arrest, and the person who has been arrested will be further interrogated today or tomorrow, and so we will get to the bottom of it. I hear there were some phones. The interesting thing about crime is that most people who commit crime usually leave evidence. I believe that maybe in a rush, one of the phones could belong to the person or persons who committed this crime, and that will be a giveaway. So I have no doubt in my mind that the people who committed this crime or the person who committed this crime will sooner or later be arrested. And Cape Coast is a very spiritual place. We have our gods and everything, and they will not allow you to come and commit a crime on their land, and so they will fish you out.
The MP outlined some measures that would be taken to enhance security in the area.
We also discussed CCTV. We are looking at a possibility of putting CCTV along this road and other places. I'm working with the police on this. Already the government is working on putting CCTVs in some parts of the country. So when I return back to Accra, I will go and talk to the authorities and see how we can work with them and maybe extend some of those CCTVs urgently to places like this, so that we can have monitoring, a CCTV light that could act as a deterrent. Because sometimes when you have these things here, then people will not dare to do some of the criminal things that they do. And if they do, then the light will be able to obviously, capture them, and then we'll be able to read it somewhere. If we had a CCTV here, we would have seen all the cars that passed along this road around the time. And when we zoom it down, we'll be able to capture or catch the person who is the perpetrator of this, this crime. So these are some of the things that we'll be working on. But also, we'll be looking at a community watch, which is what the assemblyman talked about.
The assemblyman, Ofola, told the MP they're going to activate the watchdog committee's activities to support the efforts of the police. For now, the only suspect that has been arrested by the police, the boyfriend of Nanama Clark, is in police custody, assisting them with investigations. The police say it's early days yet to reveal why they are holding the boyfriend and why they are on the heels of another. Reporting for JoyNews, Richard Kwejenya Akon, Cape Coast.
And now plastic surgeons at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital say they are expecting at least 80% function of fingers of a girl whose hands were immersed in boiling water by her guardian at Goso in the Ahafo region. This is on condition that a skin grafting surgery done on Tuesday proves medically successful after 1 week. Little Stephanie had her hands immersed in boiling water for taking her guardians to Ghana cedis to buy food. Ashanti Gold Corporation, owners of Mensing Gold Bibiani Mines, has announced a 20,000 cedis fund for the girl to take care of her surgeries and upkeep. Love FM's Erastus Donko has more in this report.
It has been weeks of agonizing pain for 9-year-old Stephanie since her guardian literally boiled her hands in a rice cooker for taking her to Ghana cedis.
On one no rice cooker, no chichile menina, bako nyanum na mameno mensa shensu shieni.
She has undergone 2 surgeries at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital in attempts to save her hand. Dr. Emil Tano is leader of the plastic surgery team working on her.
We have really covered the wrist joint, and that one, the flexion contracture will be avoided. So the rest will be for the physiotherapy to help.
Doctors say if her body accepts the skin grafting done in her last surgery, they expect other procedures to improve the function of her fingers by at least 80%.
If you have 80% or 85%, I think that the residual wound, we can dress it, and then that will be the way to go. There's good hope that she will be able to do something with the hand.
Meanwhile, Ashanti Gold Corporation, operators of Mensing Gold Bibiani Mines, has set up a 20,000 cedi fund for Stephanie's surgeries and upkeep.
Why?
Sustainability manager of the company, Emmanuel Edu, announced this when he paid a visit to her after her second surgery.
One of our core development pillars is to assist in ensuring that the well-being of the people within the communities that are close to us are always maintained and achieved. So when we heard about the ordeal of the young lady, we were touched, and the company, Ashanti Gold Corporation and the Mensing Gold, has agreed to support her with 20,000 Ghana cedis, both to cover for the surgeries and also for her upkeep. So what we have planned to do is to liaise with multimedia and then making sure that as and when she needs support, we will disburse the money. The whole idea is to bring life to Stephanie and then continue to watch about the progress of the young lady so that she can regain her health and then come back to the community, especially to continue with her education, which is very, very paramount for her life.
Reporting for JoyNews, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
And you're still with us here on The Pulse. When we return, we'll bring you some more stories. Please stay. And you're welcome back to The Pulse. Now over 30 NPP Regional Executive aspirants in the Ashanti Region take turns actually before the vetting committee today. We know that the vetting of the aspirants is ongoing, and this follows the polling and constituency level elections, and all of the executives are filing for various portfolios for the new Patriotic Party in the Ashanti region and across. 21 individuals in the region are aspiring for 10 different positions, including chairmanship. They actually took their turns before the vetting committee on day 1 today. Love FM's Bright Kweku has been monitoring events at the Regional Coordinating Council in the Ashanti region and now reports.
The NPP Zongo opinion leaders are really scared. Ashanti region, being the heartbeat of the party, to be in crisis of any magnitude will not augur well for the party in general. The problems have to be addressed within the shortest possible time or be solved to save the party further embarrassment come 2024. The results of election 2026, for instance, was a reflection of good job done under the leadership of Chairman F.F. Antu and other executives, of which I was a first batch chairman working as a team, as compared to the current crop of executives with one-man show business. The drop in percentage from 76.22% to 71.64% in 2016 and 2020, respectively, was a true reflection of the job done by the current executives in the region. Recently held elections of polling station executives and constituencies marred with confusions all over, leading to some constituencies resorting to the courts of law to seek for redress. We should not allow people to feel cheated and be peeved during an internal election, as that may lead to apathy during the general election, as experienced during the last election. We don't want repeat of those mistakes that resulted in difficulties for the party during the 2020 election.
To the Northeast region, some NPP youth in the area have kicked against the re-election bid of the party's regional chairperson, Nuruddin Hussaini. The youth are accusing the chairperson of causing unprecedented disunity amongst the supporters of the party in the region. They want that the re-election of Nuruddin Hussaini will spell doom for the party and the political fortunes of the vice president as well. The youth spoke to JoyNews in Nalerigu during the vetting of aspirants for the party's upcoming regional executive elections.
The voting process was conducted at the premises of the Northeast Regional Coordinating Directorate in the capital, Nalerigu, supervised by one Mr. Atefua. 51 aspirants were vetted for the 10 available regional executive positions in the party. Most of the aspirants who came for the process were accompanied by their supporters and campaign team members. Campaigns for the contest this year in the region have been described by many as peaceful and decent, with little to no controversies compared to previous regional elections. Among the various party positions up for grabs, the chairmanship race is said to be the most competitive. 3 aspirants were vetted for this position, including the incumbent Nuruddin Hussaini, who is seeking to renew his mandate for the second time. However, with several allegations besetting the administration of the chairman, among which include the destabilization of the party and his failure to deliver victories for the party in certain key constituencies in the region during the last parliamentary and presidential elections, some NPP youth in the region are appealing to the delegates to vote him out.
We said the chairman has failed. He has failed because he has lost touch with the reality on the ground. Today, a majority of us come out to tell so many, to give reasons why we think the chairman has failed, and followers think that we hate the man. We don't hate him. Right now, I want to ask you, if you tell me that it was through your hard work, it was through your leadership, it was through your charisma that we won Yagaba, Kubori, that it was through SAME that we won Walwal constituency, and that it was through SAME that we won the other constituencies, and yet even in your own constituency, we couldn't win that. So you expect that I should believe in the idea that it was through your leadership that we won Yagaba? I can't believe in that, because the reality at your backyard doesn't support that argument.
Now, Nalerigu seat, for instance, we were not supposed to lose the seat. Looking at Ajia Lima, the former local government minister, losing a seat just because of, with all the resources, with the vice president, the regional minister, the regional chairman, and all the executives around. Why would we have lost that seat if not because of the divide and rule? So I think with Mr. Akamara Bawade, we can repackage the seats and then return it back to the vice president with all seriousness.
The chairman has been accused of destabilizing the party from the grassroots to the constituency levels, with no chance of reconciliation in certain areas. The youth has therefore warned that the re-election of the chairman will spell doom not only for the party in the region, but also the political fortunes of Vice President Dr. Alhaji Mahmudu Bawumia, who is seeking to lead the party in 2024.
We want to succeed, and we want Nalerigu Gambaga seat to be part of our victory. But I can assure you, and I want you to take note of this, if the delegate don't reason with us and they decide to go with Nuru again, we may not have anything to say, but at the end of the day, it is the vice president who is going to suffer defeat. Not to waste about that, because the agenda now is to ensure that we package the entire seats within the Northeast region and give it to the vice president to send a signal to the other regions. But if at the end of the day we are not able to win all the seats in the vice president's own backyard, you know, it's going to be a disgrace and a failure.
The two other aspirants are Mr. Kamara Bawa and Alhaji Mohammed Shani, who is currently facing criminal charges and being investigated by the police for illegal possession of firearms. Mr. Kamara spoke to JoyNews after his vetting. According to him, the party was at a crossroads and needed a unifier like himself to rescue it from further damage and to achieve the agenda of breaking the eight.
Mampurgu and the Mampurgu land, as I know it, money, goodies don't move people. They want to see humanity. They want to see relationship. Yes, of course, we need money sometimes to move on, but you cannot buy a person's pride, respect, and dignity. That's not possible. It's not done in Mampurgu. We would put sanity in how politics is done in Mampurgu. I mentioned money. Yes, I know those things are happening. I don't have money, but I have that relationship. The last election, I didn't have money. I had that relationship. And I'm telling you, this is an assurance that you will see a reflection of what I'm telling you in this coming election, inshallah, on the 27th. People want to be respected. People want to be recognized, not money. And inshallah, money will not speak this time.
Ilyas Sutanko, reporting from Nalerigo for JoyNews.
Well, we know that the national contest of the internal elections for the NPP is heating up as well, particularly for the General Secretary slot of the party. Already we have 5 names, at least, that we know of, persons who have come out publicly to indicate their readiness to contest the seat later in July this year. So let's bring you a brief profile of some of the names that we have so far. Of course, the incumbent himself, John Boadu, is in that race. He's the current General Secretary of the new Patriotic Party. And then we also have some more names. Justin Kondia Frimpong, who's the Chief Executive Officer for the Youth Employment Agency. He is a young lawyer, as we understand. And we also have Charles Bisu in that race, former presidential staffer and also former secretary for the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Small-Scale Mining. Then we have Frederick Opariansa, who we know has been at least a 4-time member of parliament for the Suhum constituency. And then there's also one more individual that we need to introduce to you, Musa Superior, who's the current Deputy Chief Executive Officer for the Forestry Commission. Well, earlier today, my colleague Samuel Kujo-Brace caught up with Charles Bisu on his plans to contest for the General Secretary position of the party.
Welcome to the AM show. We are talking to a very important person within the new Patriotic Party and someone who is running for the position of the General Secretary of the party. He is someone who was given the opportunity to ensure that we are able to regulate our small-scale mining sector. He and the team did quite a job there, but today they've given it to other people to also continue. We are here to have some chit-chat with him. He's no other person than the man Charles Cromwell Nana Benyin Onya Wonto. That's a name that is fascinating. Onya the Wonto, you know, you cannot buy a brother. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. You?
Good, thank you.
Many people do not know that you have a legal background as well. You have a legal background. You've done your PhD.
I'm still pursuing my PhD.
But you have a legal background.
Yes.
Wow.
I did up to the master's in law.
Law level. You're a man of many parts then.
Yes, I am. I try to. Because in our society, you need to be experienced, and that through the nurturing, my nurturing, I was actually privileged to actually come into contact with a lot of people whom, for example, when I lived in the UK, all the people that I lived with were lecturers in the university. Professor Woodman, who was one of the main architects behind the interstate succession law, PNDC law 111 and all that. He's a white person, but he He was married to my auntie, so I lived with him. Alan Dietz, who was also a lecturer, another white person. Professor John Hall, he was head of botany department at the Legon, University of Legon. So all these men, I lived with them, and I learned a lot from them. So I took education very serious when I was in the UK. Because when I went there, I was a young, around 21 years old. And you know, when in that part of the world, you go there and everything was at your disposal. So you can either choose that way or this way. And for the nurturing that I went through with them, they took me through. I think that shaped me as well. Yeah.
What is your memorable achievement at the committee where you were trying to regulate the small-scale mining sector?
Okay, that job itself was, you know, the president stated it in his manifesto, the NPP manifesto, when we're going in the run-up to the 2016 election, that he was going to restructure, sanitize and restructure the artisanal small-scale mining sector. So when Ghanaians actually voted for him and the new Patriotic Party, he appointed me as a presidential staffer, and then we agreed that I have to be measured in terms of my performance and all that. So he gave me that job after it formed a committee comprising of 10 ministers, and then my job was to coordinate all the ministries and the agencies to ensure that we sanitize the artisanal and small-scale mining sector, and then we restructure it. And we did a good job training 4,500 artisanal and small-scale mining workers in Takwa School of Mines. We brought in the drones. We vetted over 1,350 licenses, because hitherto one license owned about 4 concessions. So it was a mess. And then that came about because of bureaucracy, whom you know and all that, you know, the system here. So the government trying to solve the problem so that it is actually, everyone is served, diligently, and then everyone benefits from what the government is doing. So that was basically some of the jobs that we did. We brought in the European Space Agency to zoom into our concessions to see how devastated they were. And then we brought sanity into it, because most of the excavators were actually retrieved from the mine site. You can attest to the fact that even some of the river bodies were actually getting better. One thing is that the river bodies, you cannot tell how long it took for the destruction or whatever to occur. So you cannot actually put timelines on them. So, but then we did what we have to do, because the mandate was, the committee was an ad hoc one. So once you finish with your job, then it reverts to the various ministries. So now the Lands and Natural Ministry, led by Honorable Abu Jinapo, actually doing it. All we have to do is implement them well, and then ensure that the monitoring is done. We also, during that time, the roadmap that we came up with had the community mining in there, the alternative livelihood plan, how we export gold, the revenue that we generate from there, and all that, access to finance for the miners, the insurance bit. We wanted all the miners to have insurance, and then a whole lot. They were all contained in the roadmap, which is being implemented by the ministry now. So, and I think they're adding some innovative bits to it, but the most important thing is ensuring that the monitoring is done, and then we sustain that, and I think we'll get there.
Yeah, the roadmap had community mining as part of it. How sustainable is that?
Oh, you know, I remember I went to the mining in Daba in South Africa, Cape Town, with the president in 2019, and I had the Deputy Minister of Mines. On that occasion, Ramaphosa, the president, was there, and the Deputy Minister of Mines said that in the diamond sector, the illegal mining is called Zama Zama, Dear Galamsey. And he said they've adopted the community mining. And that's when I thought, okay, what we're doing here is actually being exported to South Africa. Because I worked with a lot of university professors, Professor Kuma, the former Vice Chancellor of UMAT, Professor Mankwa, now the Vice Chancellor, Professor Megbe, Alasan, Yakubu, yes, and then a lot of professors, Professor Simmons, they all came, and then I had Dr. Adwa and Dr. Akrofi, all from tech, and then they came in and worked with us, and they helped in putting the roadmap together. So you had a lot of experts within that, and I commend them because they didn't even charge the state. You know, when this is more like a consultancy work, where we feel that the system is actually not too good, and then they come in and they said they came in with a nationalistic approach to say that this is for us. And what they did was that I didn't even know their political background. You understand? But we brought them together and they did the job because in the interest of Ghana. Now the community mining is very sustainable because what we put together, it involves the chiefs, the district, the investor, and the miners themselves. And I believe that that's what the Lands Ministry is doing, because following that scandal, I stepped aside for investigations to carry on. So I didn't go closer to anything to do with the committee or the Lands Ministry. I wanted them to do, I wanted to be seen not to be interfering in anything at all. You know that I'm the first person within the president's government to step aside when when I heard about the allegations came out for them to, and the police exonerated me for that. So I haven't actually gone into it, but I know that what we put down, if implemented to the letter, will benefit all of us, and especially those miners in the rural areas where they do not have other jobs. But then also you realize that if most of the people pay the PNDC law 218, the small-scale mining was actually made to be the preserve of Ghanaians, to create jobs for people. So if you're not, mining is not preserved for you, it's not something that you want to, then there's an alternative livelihood for you within your community. So all that was provided for within that, the roadmap.
Do you feel hurt by how things unfold for you to step aside? Because I know you had certain things you wanted to do in the small-scale mining space. Do you feel what happened really?
You know, I even my PhD, I started my PhD in the industrialization area where the Ghana Beyond Aid, from the colonial era to the current era. That's what my proposal was on, and I started for about 6 months. And then when I following the South Africa thing, and then a lot of people from Sweden, Norway, Malawi, they used to come to the Interministerial Committee to interview me and then take it to the country. So I think that's when I realized that no, this thing is a gap that we're filling for people to actually tap into. So I switched my PhD from that to sustainable development, the topic, that's what it is, and then the sustainable development in the small-scale mining sector in Ghana. That's what I'm writing about. So if you say I feel hurt, no, it actually helped me to actually focus on something to help the community. But if you say hurt, I'll use hurt in another sense, in the sense that you were doing a good job for your country. You believe that whatever you're doing was going to inure to the benefit of the masses, and then you were trying to stop.
Well, so there's more on this later on JoyNews Prime. Well, next month, we know that the heads of Commonwealth nations will converge in Rwanda. And we know that days ahead of that head of government meeting, we're expecting that there'll be a sharp focus on business and investment, particularly across member states. So let's speak to two individuals who've been working around the clock to ensure that that program is indeed successful. Dr. Isa Kasira is Rwandan's High Commissioner here in Ghana, and also Rosie Glazebrook is Chief Executive of the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council. Two strong personalities joining me. It's good to see all of you here in the studio. Well, so let's start off with you, Rosie. You will be leading, of course, the team to organize that event. How excited are you to be part of what some experts are calling history?
I'm delighted to be part of the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council and leading on the programme development with our Rwandan colleagues. And we're so excited that it's happening, firstly in Africa, and secondly, coming out of the pandemic, that we'll be there in person, which is crucial to building those relationships back again, having all been affected by the last 2 years. So yes, I'm very excited about...
Let's talk about the team delivering a common future. Why is that relevant, particularly within the times that we find ourselves in?
I think we all recognise that across the 54 Commonwealth countries, big and small in different continents, that this provides a forum of where the countries share similar values, a lot of history, language, legal systems, etc. And we really believe that you need these strong, trusted relationships in these very challenging times. And it is a great opportunity for everyone to come together for that.
Right, and I'm sure that if there's anything reinforcing the need for such engagement, it would obviously be the COVID-19 pandemic. It's obviously ravaged a lot of economies, not just in Africa, but across the world as well. How crucial would such engagements at the meetings be to restarting and building resilience?
Absolutely. So the programme is going to include areas of real relevance for all of our countries who are being involved. So they include things like digital skills, future ways of working, energy, food security, and professionalisation of the workforce. These are all areas that apply to lots of different countries, and coming out of the pandemic, we all need to adjust the way we look to the future, and we're really certain that the work that we're putting into the programme, again with our Rwandan partners, will really deliver value to those who come and attend and are delegates there.
And let's bring in Doc at this point. Of course, you'll be hosting everyone there. Ghana is a member of the Commonwealth, so definitely our officials will be there looking forward to some great ideas and the engagements that will unfold. But how is Rwanda preparing for this high-level meeting?
Thank you very much, Blessed, and thanks to Joy for giving us this opportunity to share our joy and really warmed towards preparing this upcoming Heads of Government meeting in Kigali. Right. CEO Rosie has put it very well. This is a huge opportunity for all humanity, and I specifically even for those who've had the opportunity of now being members of the Commonwealth. I think it's going to be one of the major gatherings coming after COVID. We were meant to host this in 2020. And we did everything possible because we had been chosen to do so in 2018, right. And we started working on it. But unfortunately, as we all know, COVID hit. So I want to say that Rwanda has been ready since 2020, and today is very ready. We've prepared everything in such a manner that our family members of the Commonwealth will come, have an enabling environment to help them have a very fruitful, deeply engaging, productive, but also enjoyable moment in Kigali. What do I mean by this? In terms of preparedness, we worked very closely with our outgoing chair, the UK government, whom I would like to really commend so much, with the Commonwealth Secretariat, and also with partners already existing, like the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council. And I'm delighted to say that participants already have actually had a prior visit to Kigali to look at the preparedness, whether logistics, protocol, everything, and they're all very, very satisfied. I'm glad to say that already 2/3 have confirmed their participation.
It sounds really exciting. But we know that you're also passionate about sustainable development. So obviously, once this is coming to Rwanda, you would be on the lookout for how African governments can take advantage of what's coming to the continent. What's your take really on that? View of some people that we need to maximize, whatever potential there is in the various engagements that will be happening during the fora that will be taking place at the meeting?
That's a very important question. You've hit the nail on the head, Blessed. The overall theme of the conference is reconnecting, innovating, and transforming. And in as far as sustainability is concerned, we as Rwanda have seen that some of the things that we do as human beings can actually help us to get from where we are to more sustainability. And one of them is urbanization. So one of the substantive areas of discussion which we proposed, is a declaration on sustainable urbanization. There is so much to discuss, but importantly, that's within our reach as human beings to organize ourselves and plan cities and urban areas better, and that will contribute to sustainable development. The second is a declaration on reflecting on child care reform, because we also believe that all of what we hear today is really primarily around how we are raised. So if we can, again, as a family, reflect on that and raise our children in the best way possible, then we'll be able to go far. So I want to say that these are only two of what we are contributing, but the bigger family is coming in to discuss all the points that she did raise, whether innovation, health, women, youth, technology, all these crises that we've gone through, whether climate change or conflict or health, I think they are all hitting back at us, just even, I think, bringing out of us such innovative ideas, but importantly around them, standing together with common values of working together to solving problems.
And this is where I want to bring in Rosie once more. For those who are not really aware of the history, can you just tell us how significant the interventions of the Commonwealth has been to the development of member states? Are you able to tell us, I mean, for those who are not really aware of that?
Yes, I can certainly touch on that. So there are 54 member states, and of which a very, a significant number are in Africa. And just to give a small example, in 2018, the Commonwealth Heads of Government and the Associated Business Forum was held in London. And at that, there was also a Ghana Investment Summit with 200 delegates, which coincided with that, and some very positive outcomes came from that. Now, how can this help across the wider Commonwealth countries? I think one thing I would say here is that all 54 have an equal voice, regardless of whether you're a very small nation or a very large nation. And we see that as being part of the Commonwealth family, and it's an excellent opportunity to raise issues that might affect all of the countries, but for everyone to have that equal voice.
Particularly on this event that will be taking place, do you have some key outcomes that you're on the lookout for?
Well, I think several have already been mentioned, and I think one of the key outcomes I would hope to see is to have the participation and the connection between government leaders and also top business leaders, and we really hope that that connection will address some of the issues that everybody is going to be discussing as part of the programme. Clearly what we want to see is action on the ground, and I'm very hopeful that we will come out of the Business Forum with some clear direction of travel and initiatives that we would like to see develop over the next 2 years before the future, before we meet again. Okay, and Doc, just before we go, what's the message from His Excellency Paul Kagame as we look forward to this event?
As the incoming chair and host, first of all, I would like to say that my president is very delighted that this is taking place in Rwanda. He's always reminded us and the rest of the world that we must never lose an opportunity of learning from crisis. And Rwanda today has a lot of stories to share because of our history. And because of that, we do believe that hosting this Commonwealth at this point in time is a huge opportunity for us to unite, dialogue, really reflect deeply, and ask ourselves, what is it that we can do differently? We feel we are ready, and we believe that together we will make a difference. I also want to say that we enjoy a very deep, friendly, fraternal relations with members of the Commonwealth. But now that I'm here, because I represent my president in Ghana and Sierra Leone, I want to commend the excellent relationship that we've had with Ghana. We're already looking forward to great participation. We have had sessions to engage with the private sector here in collaboration with our partners, Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council and the diplomats. I'm very delighted to say that the president is coming and a big delegation. We expect up to around 100 or even more will be coming to Kigali. So this is timely. It's the most really important thing for us to do, for leaders of political, private sector, civil society, convening in Rwanda to ask ourselves as a family, where do we want to go? How can we ensure we have a more peaceful, sustainable, and prosperous and freer world?
Yeah, it sounds really good. But Rosie, I thought that would have been the last, but we know that obviously Commonwealth is about sharing the ideals of democracy as well. There are some of your member states that obviously are being threatened now, looking at what, for instance, is happening within the West African sub-region. Are member states going to, talk about, dialoguing on possible ways to support these countries, such as Ghana, who are surrounded by countries that are facing insurgency and other security issues? Will that come up?
I'm sure it will be part of some of the discussions, and I think that one of the aims of the business forum, but also the heads of government, is to have everyone together in that safe space where we are together and able to discuss these things. Now, I'm not going to be the heads of government part. I can only answer on the business forum bit. So, but I'm very hopeful it's going to be a very productive meeting.
Well, Rosie and Dr. Aisha, thank you.
One last one, kindly,
quickly.
Because this was very equally important.
Right.
We're going to have lots of work, but we're also going to have lots of fun. So there's a lot of entertainment, social.
I almost lost sight of that one as well.
Please, so stay. You will be able to, I hope you're coming, blessed.
I hope so.
I
hope so.
You should. So,
right.
and take an extra 2 or 3 days to visit Rwanda. It's a lovely place.
My schedule should be able to allow me. I'm sure the producers will work around it so we can
only
do something
4 hours flight from here, direct with Rwanda 3 times a week. Please.
Definitely. But that's all time will allow us now. We'll return shortly after this break. Please stay with us. Professor Charles Sismon is credited to be the first male surgeon to perform open-heart surgery in Ghana in 1964. 58 years later, Dr. Anku qualified to be Ghana's first female cardiothoracic surgeon in Ghana. Many women drop out of the surgery specialization because it is difficult managing their matrimonial homes, raise their children, and also combine that with the time-consuming career. Jojo Kobina of our gender desk witnessed Dr. Penelope Adinku and her team perform her first case.
Dr. Penelope Adinku. This morning, my team and I are operating on 6-year-old Elham Al-Hassan. She has pentalogy of Fallot, and as a result of this condition, she has poorly oxygenated blood circulating through her body. So as a result of this condition, she gets tired very often. So you see her squatting frequently, and she cannot keep up at play with her peers. So join me in theater, my team and I.
For the next 4 hours, Dr. Penelope Adinku and her team will be on a mission to repair the heart of a 6-year-old girl who had been living with heart disease since birth. She scrubs and heads to the theater. The journey to repair the heart begins with anesthesia. The girl is put to sleep. Then a prayer. Later, a careful incision in the breastbone to expose the tiny heart. The complexity of the case requires experienced hands, so the head of the National Cardiothoracic Center, Dr. Lawrence Ajimansribo, joins the team. To work on the girl's heart, blood is run outside her body and cooled through a cardiopulmonary bypass pump, popularly called heart-lung machine. The machine pumps blood and oxygen to keep her alive. The heart is then stopped and the actual repair begins. With a combination of dexterity, application of deep knowledge, sound judgment, the surgeon soaked the pressure and carefully maneuvered the delicate heart.
I'm filling up.
The repair is complete. The moment of truth. We will soon know whether the surgery is successful. Cardiovascular perfusionist stop the heart-lung machine. The heart can function and beat on its own. Time to close up the chest. Dr. Adinku talks about how the surgery went.
She had her first surgery, which improved her condition. And she's come back for this surgery, which we just completed, where we relieved that obstruction. We opened up that obstruction to allow blood to now flow to the lungs. Then we closed the holes in the heart, and then we closed the heart back.
Dr. Adinku goes into Ghana's history books as the first female cardiothoracic surgeon. But why has it taken so long for a woman to practice cardiothoracic surgery?
Sometimes you have to sleep in the hospital a couple of days in the week. So combining this with family may have presented a challenge to other women. Traditionally, women, we take care of their home, the husband, the children, and as career women, we have to achieve a balance between our career and taking care of the home.
It will take many patients, including women, who are not so used to women being doctors or surgeons.
You know, I had a couple of patient relatives walk up to me, and then I'm in my lab coat or I'm with a stethoscope, and they want to find out something relating to their sick relative. And they'll tell me that they are looking for the doctor. They are looking for a male. They're looking for this tall, male to come answer their questions. So I tell them, I'm the doctor, so talk to me.
Dr. Srebo describes Dr. Adinku as very intelligent and focused.
Shy, quiet, very focused, a brilliant girl. I don't think it's going to be the end. She has inspired so many people, both males and females. So yesterday I was on Saturday, one of my house officers that were talking, and she's been so inspired that she also wants to do cardiothoracic surgery.
Many women opt out of surgical training and specialization because combining family and career is intense. But Dr. Adinku braved it.
It however takes hard work, commitment, dedication, and perseverance. There are times that they would feel discouraged. There are times that they would question themselves. Will I be able to make it to the finish line? Can I do it? Am I supposed to be here? But I want to tell them that once they believe that God has called them to it, they should keep persevering. I would like to encourage spouses to encourage us as women to support our dreams, to stand by us. This makes it easier for us to push forward. I would want to thank my husband, Mr. Ernest Adinku, Reverend Ernest Adinku, for his love and his support. He's my #1 fan.
Truly, a glass ceiling has been shattered, and Dr. Adinku is calling on female doctors who wish to specialize in cardiothoracic surgery not to give up. It may be a lonely feeling to be the only woman doing this kind of work, but her achievement opens the door for many more women to enter the room where she is now. Jojo Kobna, JoyNews.
Now, raising capital to run a business remains a huge hurdle for most Ghanaian entrepreneurs. However, 69-year-old entrepreneur Julius Opata is one of the Magdan Challenge's 70 candidates hoping to keep his business striving in these challenging times. The competition is mostly a youth-oriented one. Opata is hopeful his idea would win the 100,000 cash prize to cushion his business. There's more in this report.
After a successful first season of the Magdan Challenge, 70 contestants are gearing up to compete for another $100,000 cash prize. Although a youth-oriented program, we find 69-year-old entrepreneur Opata part of the contestants. At the sidelines of a training session to prepare the contestants ahead of the grand finale, Mr. Opata detailed his entry and experience in the competition so far.
Recently, I started this business of drawing and writing, and I came across Magdan, that is putting people in a business manner. So I joined by applying, and I was accepted. The presentation that I wrote for the company, for Magdan, now I'm in a better position to upgrade it, because I have more ideas from today's discussions.
He believes he has a good chance of winning this year's competition.
I feel very proud, and my company too is getting ready to sort of face the panel.
Mr. Opata isn't the only business person looking for financing. Alexander is also a business owner who wants to expand his enterprise and offer job training to the less fortunate.
When I pass through the street of Tema, I see a lot of people sleeping outside, and I think, what can I do to help these people? How best can I save these people from the kind of life they're living? Because when you are unemployed or when you're in a street, it engages in a lot of activities such as criminal activities, and then it also poses a greater threat to the nation. So that motivates me that if I can do something, then it must be this way, that I can help these people from the street, then they can be of their own self.
Speaking at the end of the session, business tycoon Jigbodi Dosu entreated entrepreneurs not to expect too much from government.
I know entrepreneurs are always relying on the economy, and yes, it is difficult. But I also ask entrepreneurs, what if you had a situation where you didn't have to rely 100% on government? So anything that costs you is a challenge with the economy. But can you still do business without it? That may guarantee the success of your business.
Other contestants also shared their experience.
It's been very impactful in the sense that what Mr. Percy talked about is something that all of us relate to, because in our struggles to make business work for us, we can see that we are not the only people who have gone through challenges or are going through challenges. There are people who have been through even worse challenges and they've been able to make it.
The training session is more than beneficial, because we were taught, we were lectured on the elements of the proposal, what they expect. You know, if you don't know what they expect, you can't give them what they want. So I've learned a lot.
Magdan Challenge, since its inception, has funded Ghanaian youth entrepreneurs. Ifua Apreku Abuafo's report read to you.
And that's all we have for you in this package of the polls. My name is Blessed Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com. We have some more updates for you there. Next is Let's Talk Showbiz. Please stay.